So, welcome to Introduction to Guitar Care. So, the point of today is basically look at how to change guitar strings with your main bowl, look at how to do basic maintenance on the guitar, and how to basically clean it and get all the grime and the yuck basically off it. Before we start, just out of curiosity, who's changed their strings before? Let's see what we're dealing with. One. There we go. Who's taken into a shop and wants the shop to change their strings? Okay. 4. Who didn't know they could change their strings? 1. Okay. Cool, okay, not a bad start. So, the point of changing strings is as you play the guitar, you sweat. Your sweat has acid, has salt in it, that corrodes the strings. That basically stops them from sounding nice and dulls the tone. And as it rusts, it can then make it brittle, which causes it to snap basically. So that's why I want to change the strings, because it'll make it sound better. It's a very easy way of getting an old guitar sound new, just simply changing the strings. If you take it to a shop, they normally charge for about 15 quid. Unless sometimes they'll do it if you just buy an expensive pack of strings. But the strings themselves are about 6 or so quid. So we're going to hopefully try and save about 10 or so today. And it just means you have to do it more regularly. So when to change your strings, here's a little test we can do. The first technique is the dirty finger technique. So get your fingers, pinch your string, and then run your fingers along the length of the string. So really tight, really pinch that string. Take a finger off, look at your fingers, and if your finger is black, that means they should have been changed a while ago. If your finger's clean, it means you're not practicing enough. So it can go either way. Another technique is if you look at these strings here, the part that goes into the neck, the head, they'll probably be a different colour than the ones that are going on the neck. That is simply the colour they used to be. So if there's a big difference between the colour from the head end and the neck, again, the strings are old, they probably need time to be cleaned. So these are all little ways you can kind of help to know kind of when it's time to change the strings. So the kits I've basically given out has a pack of strings, has a string winder that you can use to rotate the machine head, just to make it a little bit easier. They also have a bridge pin puller, which is this little cutaway here that only acoustic guitars will need. Still strong acoustics like this. We've got classical guitars, which are acoustic as well, which don't have the pin and the bridge. We're going to talk about this a little later, and we have 2 electrics. We have ones that have locking systems that keep strings in place, we need to undo Allen keys, and we have the one that I've got there that I use, which doesn't have that. So we've got a few different guitars today. So first thing we're going to do is basically take all the strings off. So we're going to take the strings off just to allow us access to the neck and all the parts of the guitar. When you take strings off, you don't want to leave them off kind of overnight or for long periods of time, because that can affect the truss rod. That can, basically it's under tension. If you take all the strings off, you leave them off for a long time, the neck can start to bow. So we've got to be careful not to leave them off too long. For short periods of time doesn't really matter, as long as we're not going off on holiday and coming back with the strings off. So, we're going to try and take strings off. What we need to do though is look at your guitar, it might be a little bit different. So just look how their strings are basically attached. What we're going to do is just unwind this end though, the machine heads. Just turning them to loosen up the strings. All guitars will have that, doesn't matter what guitar you have, will have the machine heads. So we're just going to turn that round, basically clockwise. You know you're doing it wrong if the string's getting too tight. We want this sound. So the pitch will go lower if we're going the right way around. It'll go higher if we're not, and then it'll probably snap. So just be careful of that. So we're just going to loosen up the string one at a time. And this is where this little thing can come in handy. Just put it on top and then just spin it around. It just makes it a lot quicker to manoeuvre, to spin it. Or you can do it by hand, doesn't matter. You know what I mean? So just going to turn the machine head around, just loosen it, loosen it, loosen it. The string will get flabbier and flabbier, floppy and floppy. And then to the point where you should then just be able to unwind it and pull it straight off. So? Yeah, keep going. So we want all 6 off. You can do this one string at a time, but again, we just want to get all the strings out playing. Cool, okay guys, so with the guitars, see I've got it here, right Jess? Beautiful. So, this is where it gets a bit more interesting. They're pretty much all the same this end, on their head. The classical guitars have the round posts actually in the guitar, not horizontal. Acoustics and still strong acoustics, and electrics have them up to point out vertically. So, that bit's okay. It's this bridge bit now we'll look at. If you have an electric guitar, like the gem over here, and some people at the back, the strings poke through the bridge and then come through the back. So to get them out of the guitar, you need to basically poke them through. Poke them through the bridge ends, follow through, and they'll come out the back of the guitar, this part here, the little holes in the back. You can see that. Some electric guitars don't have that. If you've got a Les Paul style, you'll have a bridge on top, and there'll be a hole to come through it, which Andrew has at the back. So there'll be a little hole at the back of the bridge, you just push it through. That's the electric one. The other side is the acoustic. If you have a classical one, they'll be tied on, so you just need to untie them to get them off. If you have a steel strung acoustic, we have lovely pegs to worry about, which are these little pegs here. The pegs are just holding the string in. On the string winder, you've got the cutaway, which is a bridge pin puller. So you can put that underneath the pins and just leave them out. They shouldn't be too difficult. Sometimes they do get stuck and you have to change your strings for a little while. So you may need to be a bit more time. I have got some pliers, but be careful with that so you don't break it. Electric ones as well, the strings sometimes get stuck and haven't been changed for a while. So we might need to jab it out with an Allen key or a paper clip, so I can do some paper clip, so just to push it through. So that's the next step, getting the strings out of the guitar. So give it a go. Is in the little pack I gave you, there is a fretboard conditioner wipe and a polish one. So we want the fretboard conditioner. And we're going to use that just to basically pee up the neck. Don't worry if it's still not there, Luke. I'll probably help with it. So the point of this is, on the guitar neck itself and the fingerboard, and again as we're playing, the dirt's going to get on the fingerboard, all this sort of mucky stuff. So we just want to use that wipe just to wipe that off. Make sure you're getting in all the grooves, make sure you're getting close to the fret wire. What you could even do here is use like a paper or something just to get right on the nooks and crannies where the fret wire is. But we're not going to worry about that just yet. So, putting the guitar neck. So yeah, give it a little wipe. If you've got a dark fingerboard like mine, a rosewood or ebony, then it needs this kind of treatment. It needs this kind of conditioning. And the type of thing you're looking for is something like lemon oil. If you've got a maple neck, lighter wood, you don't necessarily have to do it to sort of be treated. But it's still good to clean it just with a cloth or something like that. So there we go. You want to clean every fret, really give it some elbow grease, get all the muck off there. You'll probably see it on there as well. Dead skin, sweat, that sort of lovely stuff. Beautiful. So this is also a good time when the strings are off to check basic kind of maintenance. And with electric, there's a lot more going on than obviously acoustic. So with electric, so I have a couple of questions already. One thing to check is the tuners, and this will be on acoustic as well. On top of your tuning keys, you'll have screws. So you want to make sure they're quite tight. If they're a bit loose and they're spinning, that's why if you get your guitar in your case and it's out of tune on the ends, it might just be simply that, it's getting a little bit of a knot. So you can tighten up those machine heads so they don't move so freely. You also don't want too tight that you can't turn them to tune it. You want to tighten up and not going to take a knock and go out of tune. Other things to look for is, again, electric, these sort of little switches. The pickup selector is making sure, again, that's not loose. Because that's used, that comes loose after a bit of time. The big one, and I think some people have already seen this, is this input socket. Is make sure that's not loose. There's a kind of little bolt on there. If that comes off, then the socket there inverts in the guitar. It goes in the cavity, and it's a pain to get back out again. So just checking if that's tight is a really good thing to keep checking. So that, I've had that before on one of the guitars I had, it came off, I didn't even notice it. Until I had to plug it in and it just kept going. Leave that with the guitar. Yeah, that's it. Another thing of electrics as well, if you've got a crackly pot, so if you try to change the volume or change the tone, it crackles, that means there's dust in the pot, and it's in the way of the connection. You can pull off the tops of them, and there's a little hole. Or you can get some contact cleaner and just spray a little bit in there and clean it out. And you give it just a few twists, and that'll basically clean the dust away. Other things, strap buttons. There's a little screw there, we'll make sure you strap buttons. Again, this is acoustic and electric. Make sure your strap buttons are tight so when you put your strap, it's going to hold it, it won't fall crash to the floor. And the last thing for just electrics is pickups. So pickups can be adjusted by screws either end. You want to make sure that they're not too loose. My one's sunk quite a bit, this one, so I need to bring it up a little bit. There's exact specification for that, sort of 1/16 of an inch you want this side, and 1/8 of an inch is this side. This sort of stuff you might want to just take to a shop and get them to sort it out. You might want to be getting your ruler out and working out your 1/8 of an inch. And that's what we'll do with a guitar setup. If you take a guitar to shop and ask for a setup, they'll check all those parts, check the height, make sure it's the right distance from the string to get a good sound. They'll make sure that your neck is not bent, like I said earlier. If there's not a lot of tension, the neck can bow. They'll check that to make sure it's straight, and all these other little things. I wouldn't recommend doing that yourself because as soon as you play the neck, something else will probably go out. As the way the guitar works, everything works in harmony. You change one thing, you have to change something else. But looking at loose input sockets, loose jacks, that sort of stuff is definitely worth doing. Another question, how often do you do this? I would say every couple of string changes, so maybe once a month, maybe longer. It depends how long you practice for and how much. If you're practicing every day, an hour a day, then you're probably going to want to do them at least once a month, maybe more. But do come those checks. If the strings are dirty, give them a change. If it feels a bit sticky on your fingers, then yeah, give it a change. But really condition the neck, you don't have to obviously do too much. I'd say, yeah, every couple of string changes probably. So, now the fun starts. Because all different guitars, acoustics, we have our bridge pins. You managed to get them off at the end yet?
Yeah.
Are they coming? Beautiful. Yeah, some of the bridge pins got stuck. I had one guitar I couldn't get them out. I tried everything. I don't know how you've got them out. But yeah, if it's there for a long time, they do get stuck. So, with acoustic guitars that have the bridge pins, we want to get the ball end of the string. And
I did have a string shirt one.
yes, if you unravel your strings, so this way now we'll look at the pack I gave you, get the strings out, do one at a time.
Does it matter what order?
Can do, yeah. It doesn't really matter what order, to be fair, because all strings that come off, we've lost some tension anyway. Dave brought up a good point. His bridge on his electric guitar is a floating bridge, which means it moves. So if you play it, you can change it. Wah, wah, wah. When you take your strings off, the bridge will go like that, it will rise up because there's no tension. So if you've lost your holes, because on an electric guitar, when we put the new string in, we fret from the back. Electric guitars have holes in the back, so you bring the string, not the ball end for electric guitars, you get the pointy end, you poke it through the hole in the back, and then thread it through. So make sure you're doing the right way up. You want to hold it upright like normal. Your 6th string, fat string, is going to be the top hole. You poke through that top hole, the pointy ends or ball ends, you pull it then through, you'll come out the other side of the bridge, so you've got to make sure it goes away from the bridge, then you pull it through and the ball end of the string will stop it coming all the way out. So on electric guitars, you're poking the string through the back, pulling it through all the way through the bridge on this end, and then the ball end will stop it. So that's what we'll try and do, is thread the string through. For classical guitars, we have the same, because I have the ball end strings. So on your classical guitar strings, we have balls on the end. Normally, classical guitar strings, you tie them around the bridge. But in an hour, that'll probably just be classical guitar training. Just try and change the strings. So I thought ball ends are an easy way to go. So you literally then, on your bridge for the classicals, you have a hole, you poke the pointy bit through that hole, you pull it all the way through, and then it'll get stopped by the ball end. That way it's stuck in the bridge, and you can then pull it all the way up. So we're just looking at inserting the guitars through the bridge in there. For acoustics that have the bridge pins, you've got the little peg. You want to get your ball end, put it at the top of the bridge, get your peg, put it on top of that, and then just push it down. But as you're pushing, pull up on the string. So you want the peg to be right on top of that ball as it goes into the bridge. Right guys, Rick, sorry, everyone's ready to now put them on the head end of the guitar, so we're having a look at that. So, for acoustics and electrics, so acoustics are these steel strong, not the 3 classicals, so we're going to do something a little different. So I'll come and show you in a minute. For the electrics, what we want to do is take the string all the way down, all the way here, so we'll put it nice and tight. And we're basically going to wrap it around. There's a few ways of doing this. This is probably the quickest way of doing it. And I think the easiest. There's a few different ways. You'll see people clip it first and then put it through. you'll see people kind of do this a few different ways. I think this is the quickest way of doing it, which is take the string, pull it nice and tight, bring it up to the hole, the round bit is sticking out. What might be a good idea is spin it around so you can see the hole you're going to poke the string through, so you don't have to do it later. So twist it before you do anything so the middle hole is pointing at you so you can see it. What we basically do is wind that string around twice from the flat strings and then poke the string on top of the winds. So the winds will be underneath the string. So you bring it up to the round bit, so there's your round bit sticking out the head. You wind it around twice and then poke the string through the little hole. That will then keep the winds down. So that makes sense, and then pull it tight. We want to keep it tight all the way through this, keep the tension in the string so it doesn't kind of fly away. Put it nice and tight to the point of it sticking out the neck, out the head, sorry. Wind it around twice, then thread the string on top of the wind so it comes through the little hole. Keep it nice and tight though, and then start to wind it on. Once you're tuning up, if you've got to that stage, what you want to try and do is pull your strings. Because they're new, they'll basically stretch. So we want to pre-stretch them. So you've got your strings on. Then we want to give them a little bit of a pull, not too hard that you obviously snap it. Hard enough that it's going to stretch it, and then tune it again. Do that maybe 3 or 4 times. Tune up to pitch, stretch it out, tune back to pitch, stretch it out. So yes, basically guys, the strings are on. If they're not coming off, again, they were pretty much done. There is a polish wipe as well in your little pack I gave you. You can polish the body and the neck, so that's the last thing I'm trying to do. I left that to the end because obviously we've got hands going over and changing the strings. But that's basically it. So guitar should now, strings should be on. Though if it's not in tune, obviously you can do that at home. Make sure you stretch them out. And then yeah.